we read a real fun article about Palm Beach. All roads lead to Mar-a-Lago. Inside the fury and fantasy of Donald Trump's Florida, you've got a fun crew down there. I mean, let's separate this from ideology for a minute. I know the audience is incapable of doing that. You know, I don't understand. It's probably because they have nothing going on in their lives that brings them any enjoyment. But separating ideology for a minute, it's just a fun crew. Roger Stone, Tucker, Sean Hannity, Ben Shapiro, Laura Ingraham, Ann Coulter, Brad Parscale, the Trump campaign manager, who's now advising Caitlyn Jenner. The epicenter of the American conservative movement has become Florida. It's become this swamp of goons and scoundrels and grifters and just all around fun people.
Tabloid culture.
The birthplace of the National Enquirer, and Matt Drudge lives down there, the Drudge Report, which I love. And conservatism was kept out of these mainstream institutions for a long time, you know? A lot of the major papers in America and television networks were cosmopolitan in the sense that they were never hard left, for sure. They were liberal. They were decidedly liberal on a lot of the key values that conservatives find themselves on the other side of. And that's why a lot of the conservative personalities in media are a bit flashier, because they're rappers, essentially. They talk shit. They're not getting published in mainstream places, right? So they had to take over alternative media, talk radio, and the internet. And people like Rush Limbaugh and Matt Drudge and Ann Coulter, and they came from outside of this system where you played these respectability politics. And these guys like Christopher Ruddy, who started Newsmax, and they're all down there in Palm Beach, Florida. And it just seems like a lot of fun. It seems like a lot of fun. And if you read this Vanity Fair article, like the waiter who's serving Roger Stone and Laura Loomer food, it goes like this. So they're seated in a private room. A heavy-set waiter comes in, an immigrant from Yugoslavia named Mario, who introduces himself as a diehard Republican. He's crestfallen. He sees Laura Loomer and, Roger Stone sitting there. And he goes, "Unbelievable what they did to us." And Loomer goes, "I know." And the waiter goes, "Bunch of criminals." And Oliver Stone goes, "Not over yet." And then Mario goes, "That's right. I'm hoping. We're all hoping." So they're keeping that hope alive down there in Florida. It's like, you know the song, the beginning of Portlandia, "The dream of the 90s is alive in Portland." That's what's going on. And the dream of Q is alive in Palm Beach, you know? And it's just these people just kind of dancing around, eating steaks and martinis at 3 p.m., thinking that Trump's going to be reinstalled as president somehow. Fat Mario, the waiter, Laura Loomer, Ann Coulter, who then at the end of the article, Ann Coulter and Matt Drudge go, "We're leaving Florida, and we're not telling anybody where we're going." And I guess they're leaving because Drudge and I are both leaving Florida, and we're not telling anyone where we're going this time. I guess because Coulter, she's fallen out of the Trump camp. She's unhappy with Trump. But it's fun. Florida's always kind of been a fun place. And I remember when we snuck into the Breakers buffet.
Yes.
And there's something nice about Florida. There's something distinctly American about lying your way into an all-you-can-eat Mother's Day buffet without a mother. We had no mother. We honored no one. It was just to sit there and feed ourselves on shellfish, and it was great. And Segura was there, but we didn't even see him.
Didn't see him, yeah.
But that's Florida for you. It's a fun article in Vanity Fair if you read it. And the thing is, you know, Ben said I'd love to go to one of these parties earlier, and you would and you wouldn't, because one thing I learned when I was debating people that were to become people like this, right? A lot of the kids that I was debating when I was in college, and even though I was at a community college, many of these people were going on to 4-year schools, and they were going to, I think one of them worked for Mitt Romney for a while. The thing about people who live, sleep, eat, and breathe politics is that they're boring. the thing about politics is it obscures many of the truths of life, which are truly apolitical, right? The deep human truths of life, which is what art tries to get to, which is why art sucks now, because we're fitting those truths or showcasing them in a way that has to break down into this political binary. It's not natural. But, and I'm not saying artists are fun to be around either. Don't mistake me. But the thing about people whose entire life, their entire existence, the way they interface with the world is all politics, is deeply unfulfilling. It's deeply unfulfilling. And many of them know that. Because there is a disconnect between what you're saying and what's happening. And that's a chasm. Meaning you're not really in the fight to change things as much as you're in the fight to become famous or wealthy, and you're really trying to establish yourself. And then there's this movement of people that you can kind of grab onto for a minute, and you could guide them or push them in a certain way, but that's an unruly mob of human beings that's just going to go somewhere else, or you got to keep track of them, keep hold of them. It's not easy. And, real change is very difficult, and it's not that glamorous. And the people that work to make real change, like real activists, lawyers and doctors and people that give up lucrative careers to then go help people on the street and actually help people get elected to local government and change laws that affect people's lives, that's very different than the pundit class who's swilling, gin martinis at 3 a.m. at the Breakers in Palm Beach and talking about revolution and this is happening and this is happening. And none of it's really happening. That's the thing. I mean, it's not really happening. And the people that do this kind of know that, but they've given themselves over to it, and their entire life is politics. There's not much else there. And it's why I decided to get out. I thought I wanted to be in that world, and I said, I don't want to be in that world. I don't want to have an idea or a thought and go, wait a minute. Is this something that my enemies would say? Or is this something my allies would say? And then what? I didn't want to have to put everything through that prism. But if I did, it does seem fun to do it in Palm Beach, Florida with these lunatics. They seem a lot more fun than the neoliberal Hampton set and the Brooklyn socialist set. These people seem a lot more fun. If we're just going to go off fun, martinis with these lunatics, I mean, the true answer is none of the above. But if you had to, it might be here.